Another dominant theme in the evolution of anti-Semitism in the Arab and Islamic world is the increasing preoccupation with the Holocaust. As we will now see, several attitudes evolved with regard to the Holocaust in this sphere, influenced by those we have become familiar with when discussing Holocaust denial in the West. The immediate context for this is the attempt to delegitimize Zionism and the State of Israel.
If you look at the attitudes of the Arabs toward the Holocaust, we have to look at two things. One is the Holocaust is related to the Arab-Israeli conflict. Many Arabs associate the establishment of the State of Israel with the Holocaust. They believe that Israel would not have been established had the Holocaust not taken place. Secondly, is that the Holocaust was a major cause for Western support, financial and other support toward Israel. This is, and many Arabs therefore see the Holocaust as such. It was an event that took place in Europe. Europeans were perpetrators. The Jews may have been the victims, but those who paid the price, the political price for the Holocaust, were the Arabs, especially the Palestinians. Another point is that if you accept the Holocaust as a historical fact, then it provides some justification to Zionism and to the Jews. That is, it does provide justification to the Jewish claim that they were a persecuted nation and that there was some justification for establishment of a Jewish state. We know from historical conflicts that it is extremely difficult to accept and acknowledge that your rival has a just cause. It is a major psychological difficulty. And therefore, it is extremely difficult for the Arabs to accept the Holocaust as a historical fact. There's also another problem. There's a certain contradiction or problem that is difficult to understand. How can you reconcile Jewish unbelievable helplessness from 1939 to 1945, and only 3 years later the Jews defeat the Arabs? Somehow it doesn't fit together. And then there are 2 ways to solve this problem. Either there was no such thing as a Holocaust, or that there's maybe something wrong in the Arab world that enabled the Jews, even at the time of the worst hour, to defeat the Arabs. Since the second option is much more difficult to accept, the first option, that is to deny the Holocaust in some extent, is much easier and become much popular. And therefore, since 1945 to the present, we can see various attitudes toward the Holocaust, which are, even though some of them may be contradictory, in fact exist together. And one is denial of the Holocaust in various means, from total denial to what we can sometimes call soft denial. That is, they're not 6 million, but maybe only 6,000, 60,000. The Jews were not persecuted or were not murdered because they were Jews, but because they were communist or capitalist, etc. This is one type. Another approach to the Holocaust is the claim that, in fact, the Zionist movement collaborated with the Germans, with the Nazis, in killing the Jews of Europe, because the Nazis want to get rid of the Jews, and the Zionists wanted to get rid of their political rivals, be it the ultra-Orthodox or the communist or others. And also the Zionists wanted to push the young people toward Palestine, and therefore they collaborated with the Nazis in killing the Jews. A third approach equates Zionism with Nazism, both ideologically, claiming that in fact Nazism drew some of its elements from historical Judaism, or since Nietzsche influenced both some Jews and the Nazis, therefore it shows that Judaism and Nazism, or Zionism and Nazism, are the same. Another such equation also compares what the Nazis did or were accused of doing to the Jews with what Israel supposedly does to the Palestinians. For instance, the Gaza Strip is like the Warsaw Ghetto, Israel prisons are like Auschwitz, by the way, also Guantanamo, where the Americans keep Islamist prisoners, are like Auschwitz. And by the way, many of these comparisons, of course, play another role, is to downplay the horror of Nazi crimes. If Israeli, let's say, discrimination against Arabs equal to Nazi discrimination, then Nazi discrimination was not that bad. And finally, there is justification of the Holocaust. The Jews deserved what the Nazis did to them, either because the Jews were evil people throughout history, or because the Jews were active against Germany, or because of Zionism. That is, what the Nazis did to the Jews, the Jews deserved it, and you can say as a price for what the Israelis did later. Now, sometimes you can have contradictions between these two elements, or several elements. There was no Holocaust, but the Zionists collaborated with the Nazis in killing the Jews. There was no Holocaust, but the Jews deserved it. But we know, again, from history that people who are hostile to another group have no problem in holding contradictory views against the group. And you can say at the same time that there was no Holocaust, but the Jews deserve what they got. There was no Holocaust, but we paid the price. This is very typical, by the way, also of traditional anti-Semitism, and it is very common in modern Arab discourse.
It is important to remember that a discourse is affected and shaped by current events and is not stagnant. Though Holocaust denial is still part of the anti-Semitism present in this sphere, researchers have been able to trace different approaches as well.
In the last few years, we started even to hear some people calling for the teaching of the Holocaust in the Arab world. This is something which had never been done, and they rejected it. They are not part of the discourse of the Western world, of the historiography on the Holocaust. Recently, there are some changes. One of them is really the interest of scholars, of Arab scholars, especially those who live in the West, in writing about the Holocaust and about the Arab discourse on the Holocaust, which is more interesting. This is one thing, and the other thing is an attempt to see the Holocaust again as something which they have to tackle and even to teach in order to reach some humanistic and universal lessons.